Hi, this video will cover rebuilding your Redline Airsoft Firebase Regulator. The items you're going to need are a pick tool, your adjuster wrench, some sort of small Allen wrench, just a plain Bic pen, some Q-tips, some Tech T grease, the rebuild kit itself, and some paper towel. We're going to set our tools aside here, start taking the regulator apart. First thing we have to do is remove the air tank, obviously, and make sure the gauge is reading 0 psi. If there's still some residual pressure in the regulator, you can take your air line and push it in a few times, and that'll vent out any extra pressure that's in the regulator. In order to do the actual rebuild, we'll be using cutaway regulator because it's easier to see what's going on inside the reg. So now that we know that our pressure is at 0, we can remove our manifold. We can remove our adjuster cap. Now we need to remove the adjuster itself. Use our wrench, unscrew the adjuster until it stops coming out of the body. Now the adjusters can be a little bit difficult because of the O-ring to get out of the body. So put a bit of an angle on the wrench as you're pulling. You can pull the adjuster out of the body. Now we need to remove the piston. Now you want to be careful not to damage the tip of the piston by using a metal object to remove the piston. So what we want to use is like a ballpoint pen. We can insert it through the adjuster hole. Just push it right out of the body O-ring. Now sometimes one of these Belleville washers will stick up in the body because there's some grease on it. You just tap it out. We want to make sure we get all the Bellevilles out so we can make sure our spring set goes together correctly. Now we should just have the bare regulator body with only the main body O-ring remaining. We typically do not recommend that you replace this O-ring. So urethane O-ring should last the lifetime of the regulator. The only reason you'd want to replace it is if you have a leak that you cannot fix coming out of the reg body. Typically, if you have a leak caused by this O-ring, it's going to come out of this little vent hole here. Now, a leak from this vent hole can be either this main body O-ring or it can be the piston O-ring. So if you have a leak here, we'd recommend replacing the piston O-ring first, cleaning the bore, relubing everything, putting it back together, and that typically will fix it. If it does not fix it, then you will have to replace this main body O-ring. Now, in order to do that, you're going to need a pick tool. They can be a little bit difficult to replace, which again is why we do not recommend you replace them normally. But in order to do this, you need to stab the O-ring with a pick tool and drag it toward that center hole that the piston goes through. So you're going to get in here and stab the O-ring, drag it into that hole, and kind of push it down in the hole a bit. And you can see it's going to stick through this hole here. You can then take your pen, remove the center section, use that to help push this O-ring out of the body. Now it's stuck here because it's a cutaway, but typically you'll push it right out. Alright, we can take the old O-ring, set it aside. Now we're going to take our paper towel. We'd clean everything inside, remove all the grease. We're going to take a Q-tip. We're going to put a bit of an angle on the end of it so we can put it into this O-ring groove and rotate it and clean everything out of that O-ring groove. No dirt, you don't want anything left in there. Now we can reinstall all our O-rings and seals. We'll take our rebuild kit, open it up here, remove all the O-rings. The rebuild kit should come with a new brown piston O-ring, black body O-ring, brown adjuster O-ring, white body O-ring, and an amber colored reg seat. So the first thing we need to do is reinstall the body O-ring. We'll do that by dropping it down into the body. Again, we'll take our inside of our pen, use that to drag that body O-ring into the hole. Then we're going to want to take our pick and cant that body O-ring as much as we can, so it's as close to being parallel to the body as we can get it. We're going to take our pen, insert it into the body, and push, and that's going to pop that O-ring into the groove in the body. Now we can then take the end of the pen, dip it in some grease, and stick it in here and lube the inside of that O-ring as best we can get it. We want to get a decent amount of grease on there. And then take also some grease, put it on our finger, and rub it into the piston bore area and make sure that's nice and lubed. Now we're ready to take the O-ring off the piston. We're going to want to take it, wipe off any grease that's on that O-ring, and the easy way to remove this O-ring is we just squeeze a little bit and push, and we'll get some gap there, and we can just peel that O-ring off the piston. Then going to want to take our paper towel, wipe this groove out, rotate it, get all the grease and dirt and anything that's in this O-ring groove out before we install our new O-ring. Install our new piston O-ring. Take some grease, lube this up. We want to pack that whole groove full of grease. Try not to get too much on the outside here, but just in the groove. Set that aside for now. Take our manifold. Be careful here now. We don't want to scratch the backside. Just pick underneath. Pull that O-ring off. Take a little grease, put it on your fingers. Rub that O-ring full of grease. Roll that over. Now we want to take the adjuster O-ring. Remove that. Once again, we're going to squeeze a little bit to get a little gap. Put our pick through there. Peel the O-ring off. Take our new O-ring. Roll it over. Now in order to remove the reg seat, take a small Allen wrench or some other small metal tool. There's a little hole inside the middle of the adjuster. We can take the tool, push. We'll push that adjuster seat out. Set it aside. Take the new reg seat. Now the reg seat is tapered slightly. You're going to want to put the narrow side of the taper in first. It should go in part way without a problem. And then push it down. Use our adjuster wrench to firmly seat the adjuster seat or the reg seat into the adjuster body. Okay, now we're ready to reassemble everything. Take our lubed piston, put a little grease on the end of here, our fingers, slide it into the body, pop it into that O-ring. Take our adjuster, once again, lube up that O-ring, a little bit of lube on the grease, or on the threads, put it into the body. The easy way to get this in is you take your adjuster wrench and rotate a few times as you're pushing, and it should pop into the body. Rotate the adjuster in until it just bottoms. We don't want to force it, we just want it to lightly bottom. Back it off one full turn. Now we can put our manifold back on. Put our adjuster cap back on. And we're all set. We're ready to test our regulator and make sure it functions properly. Oh, we forgot to mention, when you put the piston back in, you want to make sure your spring stack is correct. It should be 6 opposing pairs, and with 1 additional spring on top. So it's 13 springs total, 6 pairs, 1 additional spring cupping. If you look on the instructions for the regulator, there'll be a picture of how this spring stack is supposed to be. That should do it. Your rig should be good to go. You should be good for at least another year before you have to rebuild it.